Well, Satnam, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our Sunday evening series in this introductory program. So many of you I know, and some I'm meeting for the first time. And some of you may know a lot more about the gurus and Sikh Dharma than I do, but it's always a great teaching to come into the beginner's mind. So something that Guru Nanak definitely teaches us, how to embody simplicity and find the simplicity in the message. Our mind doesn't like simple, it likes intrigues. So I hope today in our workshop we will be able to extract some very simple jewels from the teachings that may touch you in some way. And at the end, I'll be very happy to share any resources with you, recommendations of books and website resources if you wanted to explore further. So if we get ourselves ready for tuning in, we will tune in as we would usually do for a Kundalini yoga class. And feeling your sitting bones connected to the ground if you're sitting on the ground, if you're sitting on a chair, and feeling the contact with what is underneath you so that you can feel you're connected to the foundation that supports us in the physical sense here on the earthly plane. And bringing your awareness to your spine, mystically known as the divine river of life. And it's also through the spine that we walk through life. The spine connecting to the principles that we walk through life, upholding. And drawing your chin lightly in, and your eyes closed, drawn in, and lightly rolled up to your third eye point, the point or center of intuition. And rubbing the palms. And bring the hands to the center of the chest. And we'll tune in with Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times. And the Mangala Charan, Ad Gare Namah, Jagad Gare Namah, Sat Gare Namah, Sri Gurudev Namah. And we'll chant this 3 times also. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale, coming right to the end of the breath. And then we'll inhale to chant. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Ad Gare Namah, Jagad Gare Namah, Sat Gare Namah, Sri Gurudev Namah. Ad Gare Namah, Jagad Gare Namah, Sat Gare Namah, Sri Gurudev Namah. Ad Gare Namah, Jagad Gare Namah, Sat Gare Namah, Sri Gurudev Namah. Satnam. So, we don't have so long. I used to do a year's program on the 10 gurus, and it would be a day on each virtue. So we're going to go through with a little bit of speed in some ways, but there's always a gift in everything, which does mean as well we don't get lost in stories either. But how we're going to approach our session today is that I'm going to give an introduction to set the stage a little bit, especially as I know that there are some people who are completely new to learning about the 10 gurus. And then we'll have a breakout room situation where you're going to have a question just to talk to your neighbor about, or talk to your peers or those present in the group, in your group. And then we'll come back and we're going to go through each of the gurus, extracting a few things about the gurus' teachings or their lives, or something that's from one of their shabads. And then we'll get to looking at the date of birth, and then you're able to make a personal connection. So that's really the intention of the session today, is for everybody to make a personal connection to a guru and to a virtue they hold, so that we can get a little bit closer to that relationship, to the divine intelligence that comes through the Sikh gurus. So there is a lineage of 10 gurus, from Guru Nanak all the way to Guru Gobind Singh. And if anyone has joined Avtar's workshop, where you got an introduction to Karam Kriya, or if there's anybody new to Karam Kriya numerology today, then Karam Kriya numerology invites a little bit like the Golden Temple that has 4 doors. So everyone can come in through a different door, but they all end in the court of the Guru. So it's the same with Karam Kriya. There's 4 doors that you can walk through, and one of them is the virtues of the Sikh gurus. But when you come into the court of Karam Kriya, everything there is present through the numbers, and linking to the 10 spiritual bodies in Kundalini Yoga, the universal principles, through the Mul Mantra, and the divine intelligence and integrity of numbers themselves. So you may have come through a different door when you joined Avtar's workshop, if you came to her session a few weeks ago, and today we are all walking through the door that is the virtues of the 10 gurus. So Guru Nanak was the first guru, and he already understood that there was going to be 9 gurus in human form that were going to follow him, and that the light of Guru Nanak was the light that then extended through the 9 gurus that were going to follow. And the last guru, Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th guru, he completed really what Guru Nanak began. And each of the gurus, even though it was the light that went through all of them, they all lived at different times, and they all dealt with different aspects of what was happening in life during the times of their life and their guruship as well. So they all brought something specific, as well as sharing this same light. And Guru Nanak, who's representing number 1 and the first guru, after he'd had his divine mystical experience, where he was immersed for 3 days or so, having a deep, deep transcendental connection to the one source of everything, he then recited what we know as the Mul Mantra, Mul being root. Ik Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbhav Nirvair Akal Murut Ajuni Sebang. And these are the universal principles really of all of creation. So we could look at it like God's ecosystem, and we're not going into that today because that's another door, but it's very much connected to coming to Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th guru, who created the Ardas. And Ardas is often said to be supplication or a request, it's a prayer, it's calling to the divine source. But what Guru Gobind Singh did was he called on the gurus and he named them all in the ardas. So before you get to actually making your personal prayer, you are calling upon each of the virtues through each of the gurus. So it's just a very interesting relationship between Guru Nanak and the Mool Mantra, and then the ardas of Guru Gobind Singh, and how they relate quite exactly to one another, and how we are really calling on this meditation of the virtues. And some of you may be aware, if you're well read in different scriptures, that there is many references across different texts and different Indian texts and spiritual texts to 9 treasures. And in Indian philosophy, these 9 treasures, they are external things. They are riches, like precious metals, precious stones, delicious foods, armor, training in weapons, riches of all kinds. So you may have come across this, or you may be interested to explore that a little bit further. But what the Guru actually said was to meditate on the name, meditate on the quality of the divine source, and 9 treasures are going to come to you. And as Guru Gobind Singh said that the 9 gurus are also like the treasures through the virtues, and they are also within us. So we could relate the 9 treasures to the virtues of each of the gurus. So having the interior state of riches, so rather than the exterior riches or being rich, but actually what is Nanak within you, Guru Angad within you, Guru Amadas, Guru Ramdas within you. These are the treasures, like diamonds of the gurus, and their qualities shall come to you when you sit in this meditative state of being connected to the divine source of everything. And I'm going to make a little drawing, and I apologize ahead of time if I start coughing. I've got a little chest infection, which I know they're going around in winter time, so I apologize if I do start to cough or I need to have a drink. So those are our numbers there, and then we're going to put in, especially if anyone isn't familiar with the names of the gurus, we have Guru Nanak, the first guru, and then we have Guru Angad as the second, Guru Armadas as the third, we have Ramdas, known as the Lord of Miracles, who we all tune in to when we tune into our Kundalini Yoga classes. And we have Guru Arjan, the 5th Guru, Guru Hargobind, the 6th, Guru Harirai, the 7th, Hare Krishna, the 8th, and then Teg Bahadur is the 9th. And then the 10th is Guru Gobind Singh. So these are our 10 gurus. And in a little while we will come to the virtues that they each hold. if you've had a chance to write that down. And then I'm going to take that away. And I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and have a conversation with who's in the room, just about virtues generally. So what to you would be a virtue? How do you relate to virtues? Might not be something even you've come across really in your day-to-day life to consider. Like we might not get up in the morning and think, what virtues am I going to really try to embody today? But it could also be the case that we are expressing human virtues in our day-to-day life, and they could be very much part of our own nature, and they come very naturally to us. So we might not think that we're really working on something. So I invite you to have an open conversation. What would it mean to you to live with virtues or to live in a virtuous way? What do you notice about virtues that other people have? Or maybe there are, any deities in your life that you relate to. Perhaps there's already any particular guru that you have a relationship to, that you know they hold a virtue that you hold very dear and you consider to be like a diamond. And then make a note on your piece of paper, anything that comes up in your conversation just about virtues generally. Okay, so the breakout rooms are ready. And we'll have 10 minutes. So keeping that in mind, so each of you can say something and you all get the opportunity to speak and write something down. And I'm going to open the rooms now. That's nearly everybody back. Hi, Guru. Well, I hope you were able to at least extract a few things from your conversation. Karam Kriya is very much about the word, becoming our word, and we can have lots of thoughts and ideas in our head, but one of the most profound things about having a conversation with somebody, whether we know them or not, is that we get to put our word into manifestation. So I hope that was fruitful, as short as it was for you. I had some time to do a little bit of tech readjustment, so hopefully there isn't a background whirring any longer as well. So sorry if that was a bit of an interference earlier on. And what I'm going to do now is bring up the drawing board again and highlight some key points about each of the gurus. So it will be a little bit like a whistle-stop tour of the gurus, but if you want to get your piece of paper again to hand, actually what I can do, I'll keep that. Okay. So if we come to Guru Nanak, some of you may already be aware of some, if not all, of these virtues, but if you wanted to add them anyway to your piece of paper. So Nanak, fully embodying the virtue of humility. And Guru Nanak, he was born in 1469. He wrote almost 1,000 shabads or compositions that are in the Sri Guru Granth. He was born in Pakistan. And something that Guru Nanak is so known for is how he had a single message. So his one message really was that there is one creator extending into all of creation. So this sense of simplicity, a basic fundamental message, and that the divine source is in everyone, which actually was quite controversial at the time. If we think of mid-15th century India, and even more widely, actually, not just caste system and different forms of hierarchies in India, but also much more wider field. In England, there was the burning of witches, but there was also a lot of superstitions that had crept into religious life of the Middle Ages. And so Guru Nanak, what he really did was to start this revolution that was speaking out for the integrity of the spirit within. So you didn't need to go and pay priests to have your relationship to God or have God listen to your prayers. He took that away. And his message that he really taught through song as he traveled around India and much further afield was that the divine source is in each and every person, and that the door is open to all classes, all creeds, all castes, to everybody to enjoy a direct relationship with the one. So this was his message of the time when he came out of his mystical and deeply profound experience where he had complete merger and union with the divine. But Guru Nanak's poetry is a deep expression of the humility of the soul's state of consciousness. And we haven't got time to really look into all the aspects of his name or any of the other gurus' names. It's a very insightful practice to really look at the root of any word. But in Hindi, naka means noseless, or to have your nose cut off. And we could think of your nose being like your pride, how putting the nose in the air, you know, that sense of putting yourself above or better than. And then to think on the other side as well about rubbing someone's nose in the dirt and how that's called humiliation. So Guru Nanak, he taught us around how to stop putting on our nose in the dirt through humiliation, but actually bowing our head to the ground in humility. So this bowing to a higher source, and how we have this right relationship to being small. So when he was talking about being small and recognizing the smallness within us, it was in relation to the vastness of the universe and the greatness of God. So Guru Nanak, he referred to himself as the lowest of the low, the servant of the servant, and the dust of the dust. And he said repeatedly in his compositions, I am the dust under the feet of the servant of the servants. And something that I've reflected on over the years as well, and I find really deeply touching, it's almost like when we encounter spiritual teachers who are vibrating at such a high level, like the gurus, this humility of how they carry us in a way, or how they'll put themselves underneath us. And one of the things that Guru Nanak made really clear was how this is not an easy path to walk. And yet here we are all this evening, for example, all 20 or so of us, and we've chosen to step onto this path of truth. But Guru Nanak reminds us it's also a path of love, but is not easy. He said, step onto my path of love, give me your head, and don't care for public opinion. It's very difficult for us not to care about opinions and not to have opinions either. But he recognized that this isn't an easy path for us to be walking. And he put himself under the feet of those like us who have stepped onto this path and who are keeping up and continuing to walk this path of the integrity of the spirit. And that really is a very elegant and profound expression of Guru Nanak, of humility, and how that was really his life example as well as his shabad, which didn't mean to say he was walked all over in humiliation. And this is where we have to catch that with ourselves, that feeling small isn't taking us into humiliation. The feeling small is only in relation to the greatness of God and the vastness of the universe, and finding that correct relationship. And Muslims and Sufis, they even say the first virtue is humility. So if you are stepping onto a spiritual path, that first step really needs to be this step of humility, and how we misuse humility by diminishing ourselves. So can we think like Guru Nanak? And the mind must be subject to something greater so that we can come into this fullness of the virtue of humility, and how our life will unfold from this place, recognizing the light of the soul of the one that's within us and being guided by this source. And then we come to the second Guru, Guru Angad. So Ang means limb or extension, and Ad, first or primal one. So Angad is like the first limb, the limb of the one, the extension of the one. So he was an extension of Nanak, but we could also think of Angad within us as well. We're an extension of the one. And the virtue, well, actually two that Guru Angad was known for: loyalty and obedience. And, you know, just like we can have a misuse of humility, we can also have a misuse of loyalty and obedience. You know, we might be loyal to our boss, or, you know, obedient to somebody in the room who's shouting orders. And, you know, sometimes we might need to follow some orders if we're doing a group task. But ultimately within us, are we carrying this virtue, loyalty to the one that we are an extension of? And what is it that we're obeying? And there's many stories from Guru Nanak in terms of how he was a real example of always being at Nanak's side and being in this place of obedience and loyalty. So he had this embodiment of longing as well. And for those of you who have studied more and experienced more of the spiritual bodies, number 2 is very much an expression of longing that comes through the negative mind, which is the second spiritual body. But when Nanak walked beyond certain distances from villages, when they were out traveling and he was sharing the teachings, he would sometimes tell Angad, who was called Lena before he became Guru Angad, you have to stay here. So he would leave Lena on the roadside, who would sit and cry, but remain obediently at this point, just waiting for his Guru to return. So there's this sense of separation that we can often feel as well from the one source, this emptiness or this gap, and it causes us a sense of suffering as well. But the Guru would always return. But Angad represents this feeling of separation and the depth of longing that we have for this connection. And when we feel that, remembering the loyalty to the one. And when Guru Nanak finally left his physical body, and he had already had named Lena as his successor as Guru Angad, who was recognized as his limb due to his obedience and his loyalty. But when he became Guru Angad, after Guru Nanak left his physical body, he was really very distraught. And he felt that deep separation and that deep longing for his Guru. So he went into hiding, and he was in meditation for many, many months. He didn't want to come out. He was in his suffering, and he felt that deep missing. But then the Sangha and the community found where he was hiding, and they started to recite Guru Nanak's Shabads. And when Guru Angad heard the Shabads of his Guru, he came outside. And the thing that he said to the Sangha was, The body that does not feel that pain and suffering of separation should not have been born. And what he was referring to was this very physical feeling, this real depth of longing that isn't bad, like sad isn't bad. So it isn't bad to feel that, but it can be what then reconnects you on a much deeper level to the one that you're longing for. And then we come to Guru Amar Das. He was very old when he became the Guru. Guru Angad acknowledged him as his successor, and he represented and embodied the virtue of equality. And he wrote a very beautiful shabad or composition called Anand Sahib. And it's about living in spiritual bliss. And it's very much a shabad or a composition that expresses the joy of right action. So we could think about that ourselves as well. Like, what do our actions serve? And some of the actions that Guru Amar Das did that fully illustrated his embodiment of equality was that he institutionalized the free kitchen of langar, of serving food freely to all who needed to eat. Everyone would sit on the floor equally. So if a king wanted to come or an emperor wanted to come and visit the Guru would say, first you need to sit and eat in the Sangat. So the emperor could find himself sitting with a beggar on exactly the same level. No one sits higher, no one sits lower. But perhaps something that Guru Amar Das is so well known for is how he fostered equality for women. And we're going back to mid to late 15th century into the 16th century. And Guru Nanak also began acknowledging the woman and the role of the woman, and that comes through in his shabads, how kings are born to woman. But Guru Amar Das did a number of things, and one was to liberate women from wearing the veil and also from throwing themselves on their husband's funeral pyre, which was a typical practice of that time. He banned female infanticide. He said widows could remarry, which was highly controversial. He appointed 52 women as missionaries, and they traveled and shared the wisdom of the word, the sacred word, and the teachings. He went to prostitutes to remind them of the divine nature within them. And he went to the lepers, he bathed them, clothed them, sat with them. So Guru Amar Das, he went to all of those that had the status of being not equal, and he saw them as equal. And he became known as the honor of the honorless and the hope of the hopeless. So we could think, in terms of our relationships to the Gurus, if we refuse to see God in anyone or in any event or any creature, we are refusing the divine intelligence of Guru Amar Das. And this is the gift that he gives to us, really, how we can build a relationship to equality. And we can take three approaches to that. We could think of the personal level of equality. How do you put yourself in the picture? How do you affirm yourself? Do you include yourself in all things? So that's the personal level. Then we could think of taking everything that comes to you in life as being equal. So whether you receive achievement, whether you have losses, whether you have gains, can you see all of those circumstantial aspects of life, all those aspects of living your life as being equal? And then the third level of equality or third approach we could say is seeing God in all. It's the same God moving through everyone. So can we see the soul in somebody behind the drama of life? And how we can see that God is the one that is also pulling all of the strings. And then we come to Guru Ram Das. And we can put Seva in here, selfless service. Ram Das, who's referred to as the Lord of Miracles. He was born in 1535. He also wrote many compositions and shabads as well. And he founded the city of Amritsar, and he created the Golden Temple. So he founded the lake there. And he built the foundations for the Golden Temple with the 4 doors being open to the 4 corners of the universe, or to the globe. So north, south, east, and west, wherever you were located, then everybody was welcome to come to the Golden Temple and enter into the court of the Guru. And Guru Ram Das, he was an orphan, and he became very loyal to Guru Amar Das, who was his teacher and his guru. And there's a story about Guru Ram Das. If we also think how seva is an attitude, and Guru Amar Das was preparing to appoint his successor, and there were many disciples there hoping it would be them. So he gave them a test, and he told them each to collect earth and build him a small mud platform to sit on. And they did this, but the Guru would come and say, that's not good enough, take it down and build it again. And he did this over and over again. Each time the Guru would find some reason for them to break the platform down and build again. And many people got fed up. They thought the Guru must have gone senile. He was also very old, and they just walked away. And then there was just one left, which was Ram Das. And he was still cheerfully tearing down his platform each time the Guru rejected it and just building it again. It was said he did this 70 times. And eventually Guru Amar Das told him to stop. And he appointed the Guru as his successor. And then he said to all of the others who hoped it would have been them, but they gave up and walked away, there was not one of you who cheerfully obeyed one of the first rules of being a true disciple, which is to give the Satguru your full love and devotion, and to do this seva with a cheerful heart. So he saw the attitude of Guru Ram Das, of this selfless service, but also to do it in uplifted spirits, to not get cross, to not walk away, to not feel defeated, but to simply be available for the service that is brought to the elevation of his own soul. So we can ask ourselves in our life, what's our attitude of service? It's not about whether we're getting paid or not getting paid for something. It's actually an attitude of how we serve. And we come to Guru Arjan, and he embodied the virtue of sacrifice. He's associated with the physical body, number 5, the 5th spiritual body. He also compiled all of the shabads, the compositions of the previous gurus and his own, and he created one body for them known as the Adi Granth. And then he completed the building of the Golden Temple, Harmandir Sahib, which was like a body to house the scripture, the first version of the scripture, the Adi Granth. And he lived his life upholding the integrity of the word. And he refused to make changes when the emperor took offense at a few of the words in a few of the shabads. And he requested that Guru Arjan change the word. But this is the word of God. And Guru Arjan refused to do that. So he ended up sacrificing his physical body to maintain the integrity of the word. He was put on a hot plate for 5 days. And there was a Sufi there who was very, very upset seeing the Guru in so much pain and suffering as he was on a hot plate having boiling sand poured on him. And the Guru called him and said to him, "You don't see me, close your eyes." And when the Sufi closed his eyes, he then saw the radiant body of Guru Arjan. So he also represents this sacrificing of the physical body for the radiant body. In our body, if we think of it, it's constantly sacrificing itself through change. You know, the body we have now isn't the body of a child. And we will ultimately make a sacrifice of our physical body when we come to the end of our life. But what the Guru teaches us here through this virtue of sacrifice is to ask the question, what virtues and what principles does your body uphold? And what will it serve in its death? So our body, it's going to die, but at the same time, we walk through this life. And what is it that we choose to uphold through our physical body, through the life that connects us back to number one, this relationship to the divine source, this unity with the divine source and the integrity of our spirit. And then we come to Guru Hargobind, and he represented the virtue of justice. So his father was Guru Arjan, and he wore two swords. He was a great warrior, and when Guru Arjan was on the hot plate, he already designated Guru Hargobind to be his successor, and he told him to be prepared, that there was going to be attacks on the community coming, and that he needed to build the warrior spirit amongst the Sangat. So that's what he did. He actually fought to protect the human rights of people who were living at that time. He wore two swords, one representing Miri, which is the secular power, the earthly power, and one Piri, the spiritual power. But his story about Guru Hargobind is that he was imprisoned by the emperor of the time for 2 years because his father, Guru Arjan, he said, refused to pay a fine. And Guru Hargobind also refused to pay that fine that he was told his father owed because it was incorrect. So Guru Hargobind went to prison. He was there for 2 years, and he encountered 52 Hindus who were also wrongly imprisoned. But outside the fort, every day there were Sikhs from all over the world, as well as Muslims, Hindus, many people who would walk hundreds of miles to be near the presence of the Guru who was inside the prison. And seeing this devotion, a respected Muslim saint, he went and asked the emperor to free the Guru, which he agreed to. But Guru Hargobind refused to leave unless all of the prisoners were freed at the same time. And the emperor said, okay, I will allow as many prisoners to be removed from the prison who can hold on to your coat. And Guru Hargobind, what he did was he had a special coat made with 52 tassels on it, and he had the coat on. And when it came time for him to be released from the prison, all of the prisoners who were there each held on to a tassel, and they were all released from the prison. So the emperor had to keep his word. So Guru Hargobind, through his sense of justice, he also demonstrated that true freedom is freedom for all. It's not your own personal freedom. So this is something for us to think about. What is our relationship to justice? What do we stand for? And in what way do we relate to freedom? Not just our own, but freedom for others as well. And we can, I'm sure, be seeing that happening very much in the years that we've had recently and where we are now, how people are standing for justice. And then we come to Guru Har Rai, and his virtue is forgiveness. And Guru Har Rai, he was known as the tender-hearted Guru. And Har Rai means royal road to God. And he was known as a great herbalist and healer. And he established an Ayurvedic hospital. He kept a beautiful herbal garden from which he made his remedies. And he also kept an animal sanctuary. So for any of you who are animal lovers, this was something that was very special about Guru Har Rai. He didn't hunt animals like many did. What he would do was capture those that had been wounded, and he would heal them. And he had this sanctuary where people could also come and enjoy the animals. But during his guruship, the son of Shah Jahan, who was the Mughal emperor at the time, and who had declared the Sikhs as his enemy, his son became very sick after being poisoned by his younger brother, who wanted to claim the throne of the emperor. And Shah Jahan, he actually wrote to the Guru very humbly, because he knew of the Guru's reputation as being a great healer. And he asked, would you make a special remedy to save my son? And the Guru did that. And he sent the special remedy that he made to the emperor, and it did save his son. And when he was questioned, the Guru's disciples, who were upset, they didn't understand, said, but he's declared us an enemy. Why would you have done such a thing to save his son? And the Guru explained that if somebody breaks flowers with one hand and he offers them in the other hand, the flowers will give their fragrance to both hands equally. So through nature, he gave this teaching, reminding us that forgiveness is two words, for giving, and that the nature of the universe is not against itself. And Guru Har Rai said that he should bless the hand that tries to kill him. So we could think of this as well. Shiv Charan Singh, who many of you may know, he talks about pre-forgiveness. Before we even get into a situation where forgiveness is called upon, could we live our life with this sense of pre-forgiveness, that we enter into any room, into any event, day to day, already being forgiving? Just like the Guru said, he'd bless any hand that tries to kill him. So whatever he comes to meet, he's already embodying that state of forgiveness and living as forgiving. He's got something to give. And Hare Krishna, the 8th Guru, he was only 5 years old when he became the Guru. And he lived until he was 8 years old. And he embodies the virtue of compassion. And Krishna means to cleanse. And Kara is to do. So what did Hare Krishna do? Well, when he was 8 years old, there was an epidemic of smallpox in Delhi, and it was killing people indiscriminately. So no one was spared. It didn't matter if you were a Sikh, if you were a Hindu, if you were a Sufi, if you were a Muslim. The smallpox was getting to everybody. And Guru Hare Krishna, he went to Delhi and he tended to the sick patients with full devotion. And there's many stories around this. Some say that the Guru dipped his feet into the water, and then that made the water pure. And some say that he drank the water himself, and he took the smallpox on himself so that others were cured. But what we do know is that the Guru did get smallpox, and he did leave his physical body, but the others then survived. And 8 is the number of healing, it's the number of death, but it's also the number of the deathless state, connecting to the infinite within us. And it's the virtue of compassion. So the smallpox was indiscriminating, and we could say compassion is compassion for all. It's not meant to be for some and not for others. So the Guru tended to everybody with equal compassion and without any discrimination. Excuse me. So he didn't say, you know, I'm going to be compassionate towards the Sikhs first before I will extend my compassion to the Sikh who might be Muslim. He had compassion for everybody. And we have the Aquarian Sutra, understand through compassion, or you misunderstand the times. So how do we embody this virtue of compassion that is infinite in nature? And then we come to Guru Tegh Bahadur, and he embodied the virtue of peace. So Tegh translates the sword or the primal will of God, and Bahadur is great endurance. And he endured a great deal, including torture and then his ultimate death, to embody peace. And he did that because at the time there was an emperor who was very cruel, and he was known to even be unkind to his own children. He starved his father to death. He did everything for the sake of power, and he was very feared by his subjects. And he began a campaign of conversion, and he requested that Hindu leaders were asked to convert to Islam. So the Hindu leaders, they came to Guru Tegh Bahadur and they asked him to intercede on their behalf. And the Guru understood that this was going to mean his own death, but he still agreed to it. So he made an offer to the emperor and said, if you can convert me, then all of the other leaders, all of the Hindu leaders, they will also be converted. They'll agree to accept Islam. But if the emperor could not convert him, then no one needed to be converted, that everyone was free to practice their own faith. So Guru Tegh Bahadur, he was imprisoned, and while he was in prison, the emperor would keep asking him to perform miracles to prove he was a holy man. But Guru Tegh Bahadur refused to perform any miracles, and he refused to convert. And instead, he'd say to his torturers, why aren't we meditating and praying together instead? And eventually the emperor realized that Guru Tegh Bahadur, he wasn't going to convert. And rather than freeing him, he ordered for his head to be cut off. But before agreeing to go to the prison, Guru Tegh Bahadur had already written a note that he wanted to be given to the emperor to be delivered to him after his death. And what he wrote on the note was very simple. This then is the greatest miracle, that I gave my head, but not my faith. So he sacrificed his physical body so that the Hindus, they could all continue practicing their faith in peace. And great peace then came to the land. And it's still the case in India that in Hindu families, the firstborn son may be brought up as a Sikh in honor of Guru Tegh Bahadur and how he embodied peace. And then we come to Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru, and he embodied the virtue of courage. And he completed the lineage of all of the Sikhs. And he said courage was a virtue of very high order. And he said that anyone who is brave and benevolent, who are well-meaning, good-hearted, generous and kind, they will attain honor in the world. And he created warriors because there were many battles at that time. And he fought in 21 battles. And it was the case that Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs, they all fought together under the Guru's command. Excuse me. And he said, I will turn sheep into lions and sparrows into eagles after what happened to his father. And courage that he brought to the battlefield was always without any hatred. So he always said, you only pull out the sword when everything else hasn't worked. And he said, fearlessly, I will declare the spiritual truth, but without enmity to anyone. So no hatred to anybody. And this is what he completed really from Guru Nanak's path. Guru Nanak established this path of love and truth. And Guru Gobind Singh was the example of living in the courage of that truth and living in the fullness of that love and maintaining the integrity of the spirit, but also living in the fullness of all of these treasures and virtues of all of the gurus. So he embodied all of them. You know, in Kundalini Yoga, we refer to being a 10-in-1 being, embodying all of the 10 bodies. And this is the same. Guru Gobind Singh, he embodied that which all of the gurus embodied themselves. So he was the totality that was the radiance of all of these virtues being fully embodied. And if we think of number 10, it means to stand out. It means to be outstanding. And he gave the form of the Khalsa, which is the bana, the dress, to stand out. And the Khalsa is to protect humanity. But we need courage to follow this path and not care for public opinion, so that we can walk with the spine of that integrity through life, embodying all of these virtues that are human expressions of the integrity of the Mool Mantra and the universal principles that really are the alignment of the integrity of the whole of the creation. And I'm just going to finish on Guru Gobind Singh with a very lovely shabad, which is about bringing courage and victory to your life. Grant me, O God, this blessing. May I never refrain from righteous acts. May I fight without fear all the foes in the battle of life, with the courage of faith to achieve victory. May my mind be ingrained with your teachings. May my highest ambition be to utter your praises. And when this mortal life comes to its end, may I die fighting in battle with limitless courage. So we could think of that battlefield also being how we are in the battlefield of life. And do we bring courage to that? I'm going to take this away and then come for our last section on the date of birth. So as I'm removing all of this, you've still got your piece of paper to hand. If you write out your date of birth in full, and we're going to take the full number of your date of birth. So, for example, if you were born on the 19th of June, 1967, you're going to add up all of the numbers. So you would add 1 and 9 equals 10, 6 equals 16, 17, 26. Let's see, 26, 32, and then 39. So this full date of birth adds up to 39. And then we say 3 and 9 equals 12. And that comes down to 3. So if you were to have 3 as your full number, that would be the virtue of equality. Sorry, I'm just having to mute while I cough, so you don't have to keep hearing it. So if that's clear, please unmute if it isn't clear, if you need to check anything.
Angad,
yeah.
how did you go from 39 to 12?
Because 3 plus 9 equals 12, and 1 plus 2 equals 3.
Okay.
Angad?
Yeah.
If the result is 10, shall we add 1 plus 0, or shall we stay with 10?
If you stay with 10, I mean, in some ways, it's like the magnification of 1 as well. So 1 and 10 are very connected, but you would stay with 10.
Okay, thank you.
And if there's anybody with 11, please call out. So we can say number 11 is like the soul plus the radiant body. It really is God and me and God are one.
Angad, this is Siri Swami. I have 11.
Okay, Waheguru. So
Waheguru.
Alignment. If you think of God and me and God are one, you're walking in that alignment. The small one working with the large one. And how does that come into your life? The remembrance of that, embodying that in your life. I'm going to take this away. Let's see. Sorry, that was a complete whistle stop run through the gurus. I hope you at least noted the virtues and you extracted a few little gems there. Is there anybody who hasn't yet worked out their full number, which is the fruit? It's the path number. It's known as in numerology. Okay, so everyone has their number. Waheguru. That's simpler than it often is, I can share with you. So if you link the number that you've come up to as your path that brings fruitfulness to your life, it's like the fruit on the tree, and link that then to the virtue. And I'm going to put you into breakout rooms again. They're going to be the same ones. Oh, actually, okay, yep, going to be the same ones. So you'll be a little familiar with who you spoke to last time, and have an open conversation. What's your virtue? How do you relate to it? Actually, I'm going to make smaller ones this time. So, okay. So I think you're pretty much all in pairs. So in your breakout room, make sure everyone has a minute or two just to say something about the virtue to share with your partner, and then I'll call you back shortly. Okay, I'm opening out the rooms now. Waheguru, certainly. I'm aware we're 5 minutes over 7. So we're going to close, but I'm going to stay online. So if you wanted to stay online and ask any questions, I can also put a few resources into the chat. But for anyone who doesn't know me, I'll put my email there as well. And if you wanted any follow-up, then I'll be very happy to do any follow-up with you and recommend any resources or give you any pointers to where you may go and look a little bit further if you felt inspired to do that. So let's get ourselves ready for closing our session formally. But taking a moment before we close with the longtime sun blessing and 3 Satnams. Just as we began, being in your comfortable seat within, bringing your awareness to your spine, sense of walking through life with integrity, with what you uphold. And as you're connecting to your breath, bringing your attention, your awareness to the virtue that is the path number that you have. And as you're inhaling and exhaling, having a sense of that virtue being filled with light and you being filled with the light of that particular virtue. Bringing the palms together at the heart center if they're not there already. And taking a full inhaling breath. And a complete exhale. And then we'll inhale for the long time sun blessing. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on, guide your way on. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. And may we always remember that the Gurus are available to us in any moment, in any breath, to support us to make noble choices in life, to live our best life, and to bring the verticality and integrity of our spirit in each step that we walk through our own life. And may our hearts be light and carefree. May we remember we're here to love one another, to serve one another, and to support one another. And may we all be blessed with love. Sat Nam. As I said, I'm going to stay online, so please feel free to say hello, ask any questions, and I'm just going to put my email address also into the chat if anybody would like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Angad. I did have a question. It's so lovely to
Yes,
see you.
go ahead, Ellen. It's lovely to see you as well. Are you in Spain or France?
I'm in France. I will probably go to Spain in January.
Okay.
My question was, so I have a 5 in the middle path, and obviously the virtue is sacrifice, but I can't really find a way to connect that virtue to me, to my life. I must also say that I'm not completely clear on the notion of sacrifice. Is it, will we make a choice? So we sacrifice another potential choice? Or like Guru and
Arjun.
Arjun, sacrificing his physical body for the radiant body. What am I sacrificing? Something or what else?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I think sacrifice is often one of the most challenging in a way of the human virtues to relate to. So, you're asking a question. I think many of us would ask how to put it into the right context. Because, we might be thinking, oh, I'll sacrifice my cappuccino, in the morning to have a green tea because it's better for me. But is that really a sacrifice? When we put it into the picture, I mean, we're very unlikely to ever have to sit on hot plates in such a way of Guru Arjan, of course, but still there is that sense of, what is the nature of the sacrifice that really connects us then to that part of us that is beyond the physical body to the radiant body. But we could also think to looking at what Guru Nanak established and this not caring for public opinion as an example. He said at the beginning, if you want to walk, if you want to play the game of love with me, step onto my path and put your head into the palm of your hand, drop your head into the hands and do not care for public opinion. So, we could think of sacrificing our need for opinions, for example, as well.
Our need for approval.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that. We can think of, how we might sometimes sacrifice our time to serve something else. Sometimes we might be called to sacrifice something that does have value or something that we really enjoy, but we're going to sacrifice it for a greater sacrifice, for a greater purpose. So, that might be something to really reflect on and meditate on as well. What is sacrifice? And, you're a teacher, you're a Kundalini yoga teacher, and, the role of the teacher too, ultimately, or when we're coming to spiritual teacher realm especially, is not becoming uncaring of your physical body, because it is what's carrying the soul, but at the same time you are making a sacrifice of it to step into the radiant body. It's almost like you have to drop everything in a way, don't you? When you look at the examples of spiritual teachers, they drop everything to step into the radiance. And maybe, linking it to Karta Purak, because from the Mul mantra, it's linking to that, this balance, sense of balance, and the doing and the being. How are you relating to that? How might sacrifice feature into that context as well? But also, given that the fifth spiritual body is the physical body, and it does go through its sacrifices, doesn't it, through the life? Because 5 is also the number of change. It's continually changing. A little bit like, we take our big inhale when we come into the world, that inhaling into breath, all the prana comes in, but it's followed by an exhale, which is the dying breath. We're living and dying at the same time. And the body is changing and sacrificing itself through that change, through the whole of the life. So, let me know anything that comes up, in your reflections as well, because that's Karam Kriya. It isn't that one person knows everything, because nobody's going to know everything. It's that we're all invited, like through questions or reflections or our own meditation, to contribute to the depth of these virtues. Angad Kaur.
I think what Berlin mean is in German, sacrifice is linked to negative. That I give. How I can explain it in English? Yeah, it's linked to negative verbs, and
Got a negative connotation for you.
yes. Until I before I start my spiritual way, it was attached negative. And
Okay.
now through the spiritual way I do now, it's become it's the connection with God. It's the sacrifice in the Guru, and it was a long way to understand and to let the negative mind or yes play at this time. So I think that came up when you spoke about that you cannot know very well what is sacrifice for me in my life.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's very true actually, isn't it? It's a little bit like we say, oh yeah, I had to make a sacrifice, like it's something really terrible or it doesn't serve us well. It's like, what a drag. I had to make a sacrifice earlier on without seeing the upliftment of it and the real the honor within it, because Guru Arjan, that the example of the word and him refusing to change it was because he was, it's the word of God, it's honorable.
This virtue I think for you, Belen, is to elevate you, and through this that you sacrifice you can elevate other people.
Thank
And
you.
it's a gift. It's a it's a gift. Gift, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Satnam.
Yes, Swaguru. And relating it to the teacher, you've made your commitment to being a teacher in this life. And sacrifice is going to keep coming in many different ways. But the sacrifice is for others and for the future as well, isn't it? We're on this path to contribute to the future at these times as well, the Aquarian Age. We're all here as part of the pioneers of the Aquarian Age to bring in a new consciousness to humanity. And how might sacrifice also feature in your service to that?
Thank you.
My Guru. Satnam Jasdeep.
Satnam, good Satnam, everyone. Thank you very much for the workshop. It was amazing as always. I just wanted to ask a quick question, really. So, the Guru that I'm connected to and has always been there is Guru Nanak for me. But then, obviously, when I came into the teachings of Kundalini Yoga, it was very much Guru Ram Das, but still holding on to the hand of Guru Nanak. That never went. But then Guru Ram Das, and then the radiant body Guru Gobind Singh. But now with this with the numbers and the path number and the fruit, which is number 6. So I mean, is that the Guru that I should be focusing on now, or with that level of consciousness, or actually if it's Guru Nanak, hold on to that, and then whenever the time's right, the right Guru will show itself? I don't know. What do you suggest?
Well, and of course, is that they're all the light of Nanak, aren't they?
Okay.
Ultimately. So, Guru Hargobind is Guru Nanak. Guru Angad is Guru Nanak. So that extension. So maybe it's a case just deep of well, for one thing, the exercise this evening really was for everybody to make a personal connection, especially those who might not have done that before, because we can think like the Guru, the integrity and the divine intelligence, of the Guru can feel very lofty and high, can't it? It's like how to reach that. And in that way, perhaps people don't develop a personal relationship with the Guru. And So the exercise this evening that you also know through the date of birth is one of many ways to invite people to make a relationship with another guru, or just the guru in all the guru's facets. So rather than seeing it as like, oh, I'm like betraying Guru Nanak, or I'm moving away from Guru Nanak. Well, Guru Nanak is Guru Hargobind anyway, but in a different form, in a different point of time, that was called to contribute something on the path of Guru Nanak. And Guru Nanak always knew what Guru Hargobind needed to deliver. So that was always going to be his blessing, wasn't it, really? So, you know, maybe it could be, as you're saying it, another way to explore the facets of Guru Nanak through connecting to Guru Hargobind, and at the same time, perhaps stepping into a little personal conversation with Guru Hargobind of what he might have to offer you to the fruitfulness of your life.
Thank you. And one other quick question. So when we tune in, you know, with the golden chain of Kundalini yoga, and I know they say that it's Guru Ram Das is the Raj like yoga, he holds the seat for that. But actually with the golden chain, we're actually calling in all the gurus, aren't we? Like you said, through the light of Guru Nanak.
Yeah, well, in a way, I mean, I'm no authority, just deep, but it's you know, how could we not, in a way? It's like, how could we not? If Guru Nanak already knew there were 9 forms to come of him, of his light, how could we not call the consciousness or the light of Guru Nanak and all of the gurus in? Even though, yes, we do say in Kundalini Yoga, partly really because of Yogi Bhajan having the deep spiritual teacher connection, the Guru Chela to Guru Ram Das and Guru Dev, you know, and he was bestowed the throne of Raj Yoga. But, you know, when we read the fullness of the Sri Guru Granth, there's many references, aren't there, to Raj Yoga as well. And Guru Nanak established that in a way, didn't he, through the integrity of the spirit? You know, living in the sovereignty of that.
My God, it reminds me, it's like it's a full circle.
Just like the 10, isn't it? You know, as well, actually. It's, you know, all embodied. You know, and yeah, I really appreciate. I was in the library earlier this week and considering Guru Gobind Singh. You know, what does it mean to be that totality of all of that? You know, in relation to the 9 treasures, and looking at how in spiritual texts they talk about the riches and the rubies and everything. You know, beautiful as well, but how the Guru calls us to think about what are those inner treasures, like how to embody those, and courage, you know, living your life through the courage of embodying all of those treasures. You know, like compassion, for example, you know, it said compassion is not for the weak. Compassion is only really for the strong. And you know, why is that? Why do you need to be strong to embody compassion? Well, if you then take Hare Krishna's story of it's compassion for everybody, that's not an easy thing, is it? For your heart to be the vessel for compassion to flow through, but it's for everyone. You don't just say, I'm going to be compassionate to that person over there, but I've still got a bit of business with that person over there, so maybe at some point I'll be compassionate to them. You know, Guru Hare Krishna demonstrated the indiscriminate nature of compassion for the suffering of humanity. But that comes after Guru Hare Rai, number 7, calls us into that state of forgiveness. So if we already are embodying forgiveness And like Shiv Charan talks about the pre-forgiveness, don't wait until something's arrived on your door that you then feel you've got to set up the motion of forgiveness, but to set yourself up for it to begin with. If we've dropped all that sense of animosity towards others and our past and so on, we're going to be much more readily available for compassion for everyone. So it's like each guru really is, you know, it's an interwoven fabric, isn't it, of virtues.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I know Nums wanted to say something, and Tatiana as well.
Are you able to hear me now?
I can, yes.
Okay, thank you. Satnam, thank you for tonight. It's really beautiful. I have not known about the virtues until today, and it was really, really very useful. There are two things that I wanted to share. One was that through this understanding today about the virtue of Nanak being humility, I found it very, very, the synchronicity of it was very interesting, because in the last month or so, constantly I've been working on the theme of bringing in that humility space within me, especially in the teaching environment. So, you know, with for me to embody that within myself. And little did I suddenly noticed that I was feeling very drawn towards Guru Nanak, and then I ended up having a screensaver of my phone of Guru Nanak, and it didn't really strike me why. I just, you know, felt like doing it. But today, when you explained that one of the virtue of Nanak is humility, it all just kind of, you know, landed in, and it all just made sense that he was already around as soon as I started, you know, praying for receiving more humility into my life and into the way of being with the teachings. So that was one thing I really wanted to share. And second, I wanted to ask is, it's a question that something that I'm experiencing through different phases of life is that each of the guru just shows, you know, themselves up as soon as that phase of the life is being entered into. And if that is true, you know, then how important it is to connect with the guru, which is of your fruit path, like the total of your birth number. That's what I wanted to ask. I don't know if I was very clear in trying to explain.
I'm not sure I completely understood. Do you mean how the fruit path number maybe manifests in different ways in different stages of your life, or do you mean different gurus coming in?
So I kind of feel like different gurus automatically kind of, you know, make their presence felt with different phases of life. Like I felt earlier a connection with Guru Ramdas, and lately I've been feeling with Guru Nanak. And I know as the time progresses, it might change. But having felt that, you know, it kind of feels that I already know this, that it's going to keep happening at different phases of life. Then how important it is to just be present with your, like my number is 10, with Guru Gobind Singh.
I think just a few things to mention is that the exercise that we did this evening, in a way, is for us to maybe renew a relationship with a guru, for those who might already have some understanding of the gurus. You know, how through the life we can keep renewing that love or that inspiration or that understanding. So I most definitely wouldn't be saying to you, oh, just give your focus on Guru Gobind Singh through your life. It's like two things, isn't it? One is that naturally we might find that one guru is coming to us and we're intuiting a relationship with that guru or that quality. And then another is that there are many different ways we can actively choose to give focus. And coming back to the 9 treasures as well, like they are all within us anyway, just like Guru Gobind Singh saying, with the Ardas, Nanak is within you. How is Angad within you? How is Amadas within you? Like embodying them all, just like we are the 10 in one being from the perspective of the spiritual bodies. This is how Yogi Bhajan also came to bring that in, linking the virtues that each of the gurus had with the spiritual bodies and with the Mul mantra as well. It's all interconnected. So, a yogi might say, I'm going to focus on my positive mind for a while. But they've got all of the 10 bodies. It's just that they might choose to highlight and do a 40-day or 120-day meditation for the positive mind. But that anyway is going to impact on everything else. So you might give some focus to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and that's going to give, bring something, because he's the totality of all of the virtues. He's the radiance of Sebang. As a yogi, we'd say Sebang, the radiant body. So he was the full harmony of all of that. So focusing in on him is including all of that, but focusing on another guru doesn't, exclude him either. And like you said, I think it's absolutely true. There's been gurus who I went for years and I never really paid much attention to. Guru Amadas has always been the love of my life. I felt he was sent to me to rescue me many, many years ago and to give me an awakening experience. So I hold him very, very specially. But it doesn't stop me from at times thinking, oh, I'm going to give some attention to Guru Hargobind because he has so much to teach me about something that I need at this point in my life. And so they're all there in this humility of service for us to call on, because they are never not present. They're always present. They're always available. They're all in that field of the heart, there for us to call on in all their aspects at any time. So yeah, it could be, through your 20s, you find you make a connection to one guru more, because also we go through all the different life cycles, don't we? We have different features of our life, going from young age to old age. So it could also be that different gurus come in to serve a bit more consciously for us, something at a particular stage in our life. But why guru? They are always there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I am quite grateful and very touched to be able to receive this wisdom. And it definitely is going to stay with me for a long, long time. And I hope to be able to embody it even more. Satnam.
Yes, Waheguru, Satnam, Namrata, and lovely to see you this evening. Satnam.
I came in by seventh guru, but I'm number 4. And my question is, if you have qualities of the guru, but you, for example, and you feel that you it's, I know it's abstract and it's quite, you can see it's symbolic maybe, but you misuse these qualities. And can you, for example, if you take qualities of Guru Ramdas, caring, loving, yes, taking, or maybe you can tell some, I think so.
Yeah, so what we did, because the workshop was so small, you can't go through the history of the gurus
No, yeah.
small amount of time, unfortunately. So what I did with Guru Ram Das is gave a few examples, but probably the key thing that I said in relation to him and to the virtue, because his virtue is selfless service, was about it being an attitude. So what if we have a number 4 anywhere in our date of birth, or just, we have all the gurus within us as well, but if we're relating to Guru Ram Das and number 4, like, what's our attitude to serving? And taking away the idea of money, no money, this is my job over here, so that can't be seva. I think in the yoga world, we can get quite trapped in what we understand as well, because the mind tends to categorize things. But perhaps, Tatiana, it's a meditation for you then to think about your relationship to service, but service as an attitude, day to day, that you bring into your life, an attitude of serving the environments that you walk in, the relationships that you have. The first 3 gurus are very much more about the personal, and then we come to Guru Ram Das, which then starts opening up to community. So, if we are stepping into this attitude of building community, how does service work there? What do you know yourself about service and seva that you can bring? Because the path number, being the fruit of the tree, it's also linked to education and what we're learning. The seed is there at the beginning and it goes all the way through the tree. And then it's in the fruit that then drops and comes to the ground, and the seeds, come again. So it's like this cycle as well with the fruit, what we harvest. So thinking of, how you're harvesting seva in life, and what your attitude is to that in life. If I was going to extract a few things, the positive mind, number 3, is its nature is to add. It adds things. Number 9 is to be altruistic. It can be generous. It's to be altruistic. But at the same time, it's like the savior complex. So number 4 isn't really about this wanting to kind of save things or save the world. That might be more number 9. So there are all these little kind of details, perhaps, that you might find of what you've just said that actually come across different numbers through your date of birth and how they're relating as well. And 8 is death, as I'm sure you already know, and 2 is the negative mind, which is about letting things go and cleansing.
Yes, I have also 8 in my is August. Yeah, but yeah, it is also all this stuff comes from the past, from the childhood, probably from damages in your childhood. So all these controlling things, playing the god and to solve every single problem in the world and in environment, and to save all the animals, all the books, all the birds, people. But actually I'm searching for kind of key for myself, maybe in number 4 or maybe in Guru Ram Das, to change this controlling, this wanting to help the whole world, and totally actually destroying my own life and destroying the life of my people around me. Yeah, so it's turned to something not really good, I think.
Yeah, and if we think of number 4, because number 4 is about giving and receiving, isn't it, as well? So what's the balance of that in our life, the balance of giving and receiving? So yes, perhaps when that's out of balance, there could be something of the receiving that isn't in balance there, you know, we need to explore it more, but maybe that's something to take away in relation to the 4, although of course you've probably looked at all your other numbers and they can offer insights to what you say. But yeah, the first 7 years of the life is considered the first chapter of the book of our life, and that it's set. So those first 7 years, and we can also think of the 7-year in relation to the aura and the electromagnetic field and the family setup, is that what happens in those first 7 years is then going to be setting us up, really. And then it's the question of what continues to play out through those 7-year cycles, and when we wake up in them or we make different changes also in them. You know, number 4, then we could think of, if we were going to relate it to the years, you know, every 7 years, that would be what, 7, 14, 21, 28 to 35 is you know, the 4th cycle, that is the life cycle. That might be something to look at. But yeah, good luck, Tatiana, on that. At least you're clear. You have a strong sense of you know, what's there needing attention, and I'm sure your numbers will help. Just as you say, you have an 8 there, you know, the connecting to the infinite prana that might, you know, which is abundance. You know, number 8 is the number of abundance, and when we're connecting to that infinite ocean of prana and trusting that we're always going to get what we need, then, you know, the number 8 links to the negative mind, the pranic body and the negative mind, that may allow us then, you know, what to say no to, that we don't need to kind of keep adding.
And also number 10 August.
Yeah, 10 is the totality, isn't it? It's the all or nothing. So when people have a number 10, often having that all or nothing in there, you know, they're either all in or all out, or maybe putting themselves on the fringes of the circle, you know, on the outside rather than coming into the center. So yeah, everyone will have a different relationship to that as well. But the light of the soul is really coming into the radiance of the 10. So as you're demonstrating, which we'll all have in various degrees, you know, some people might have a poverty consciousness and don't believe they should own anything. And then some people need to accumulate a lot because it's a compensation for something. So we're all working around our imbalances with all of the numbers to some degree. But yes, the radiance of the 10 is, you know, perhaps one way to think of it is when everything is also in balance too in our life.
Okay, thank you.
Why, Guru.
Bye.
Lovely to see you, and I hope everybody has a lovely rest of the evening and a lovely solstice next week. God bless and Satnam.
Yes, and to be healthy.
Thank you so much. Waheguru.
Waheguru. Yeah, we're all in the right place, aren't we? Sangat is where it's to be.
It's the best place and the only place I want to be.
Yeah,
Angad,
what else?
I'm going to email you, Angad.
You're very welcome to. Drop me a line anytime.
Thank you so much. This has been such a beautiful time. You all just made my day. Thank you so much for sharing about the gurus. I just can't get enough.
Well, there's
Thank
plenty more to get, so that's one good thing.
Thank you so much.
Satnam and God bless.
Bye-bye.
Stay, please, healthy, holy, and happy.
Likewise, Tatiana.
Satnam.
God bless.
Satnam.
Satnam.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.